should have, because imagine if we saw Jesus walking on the water. Like if you were out on the boat, you'd be amazed. Like you never heard this story before.
Right.
So you never heard this story before. You saw Jesus walking on the water. You weren't sure even he was the Son of God. And we would say, that's amazing. You know, this guy is amazing. You know, but would you say...
Who would say, let me go?
Who would say, yeah, I want to do that too. Would that even come to your mind?
Well, I'm thinking...
Peter was the wild...
I'm thinking like a parallel that is a different story. Like you're flying in an airplane, you see somebody streaking, like flying past you outside, just like a person managing to do this. Like, what is going on here? You're not like, hey, let me jump out the window or something. And
you're like, that guy's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Often the command is given most often in the Bible is fear not. That's the most often command. So Moses even said fear not in the passage we read. So they thought Jesus was a ghost. So Jesus was coming by them. It was Jesus, their Messiah, but they thought he was a ghost. So sometimes the things we fear are designed to help us. They're actually there to help us. And it also shows that we can't always recognize Jesus when he shows up. So some people aren't sinking, like Peter sunk, but sometimes it's because we're not taking any risks. And so we don't always know how much faith we have until we're in a trial. When we're in a trial, we don't want to focus on the what ifs, the past failures, or the worst case scenarios. We don't want to focus on the wind or the storm. So if it's a situation that God put you in, then he's responsible to get you out of it. So keep your eyes focused on Jesus, not the wind. Not the wind. The other disciples didn't recognize that he was the Son of God until the wind stopped. So Peter recognized he was the Son of God in the middle of the storm. So the question is, can you recognize God in the middle of your storm? Because that takes faith.
That's what I want to do. I want to be able to recognize God in the middle of the storm.
So to do that, so how did Peter didn't see him, so they were looking at him, he's a ghost. And then Jesus said, it is I. So Peter recognized his voice. So if once we get to the point where we can recognize God's voice, then we can see him in the storm. Then we'll know. So dry feet faith is when God fights the battle for you. You don't have to get your feet wet. So you know God is with you before you even start. So we saw that in an example of Moses parting the Red Sea. The miracle happened first. And they kept their feet. They walked across on dry land. Cold feet faith is when you have faith until things get tough. You get cold feet because you focus on the problem instead of focusing on God. Once you get your feet wet, you lose faith. And we saw that example of Peter walking on the water. Wet feet faith is when you can step into the water before God shows up. So you're not afraid to get your feet wet. You're not afraid to start. But even though your confirmation that is from God doesn't come until after you get in. So the confirmation comes after the obedience. So you're obedient before God shows up with a miracle and shows you that it's him. So you have to have confidence that God is always with you. And we saw an example of that, of the Israelites crossing the Jordan River. So as a mature Christian, God doesn't have to show you a miracle in order to encourage you to go into the struggle. You take God at his word, and you can walk into the struggle with full assurance because you have wet feet faith. So we can trust that the waters will stop after we get our feet wet. Trust that God will provide. Trust and embrace the unexpected. Set out for lands that we haven't seen before. So the confirmation will follow the obedience. You'll experience God in the midst of the journey. So you can go ahead and get your feet wet. So Isaiah 43 verse 2 tells us, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze.